Hello, I'm Jonathan. If you like short stories in the horror, comedy, and sci-fi genres, then you've come to the right place. Welcome to Tale Teller's Universe. If you're familiar with most Italian mafia movies, then you know what it means to be a made man. Let's explore that a little bit. But first, please like, share, and subscribe, and you can receive stories like this twice weekly. Now, Made Man by Jonathan Lee Wilson. Francesco Capaldi enjoyed breakfast at his finely appointed office at the Capaldi shipping yard. He'd come in early today so he could relax a little before the day's meetings began. As he sipped his orange juice and ate his tomato slices, he read through this morning's paper. He was an old-school kind of guy and enjoyed the smell of the ink and the feel of the paper in his hand, rather than just grabbing the headlines off his smartphone. When he reached the op-ed section, his fist struck his desk in frustration, rattling his dishes.
That son of a bitch! This is the last time you're going to spread these lies about my organization, he said angrily to the photo below the byline. You want to dance with me, Mickelson? He said under his breath. Frank Capaldi pressed an intercom button that buzzed discordantly. Hey, Vinny, come into my office, will ya? Said Don Capaldi. Vinny set down his coffee mug, put away his phone he'd been sports betting on, and walked toward his boss's office. Vinny knew better than to keep Mr. Capaldi waiting. He was the well-respected leader of the Capaldi crime family, after all. The Capaldi family had controlled the South Side for 3 generations. He was a fair Don, but when the Don said jump, you'd better be in the air already. Moments later, Vinny Slugger Scarlato made his way into the boss's lavish office. He was well-dressed in a tailored pinstripe suit. Vinny knew the importance of dressing for the part he wanted to play. Being the boss's right-hand man had its perks, which included the best suits in town. Hey boss, what can I do for you? Asked Vinny. Vinny had been a loyal enforcer for the family for nearly 20 years. He was what you called a made man. So long as he remained loyal to the family and stayed in Don Capaldi's good graces, he was set for life. Vinny's family would lack for nothing. Some people would find it difficult to live the life of a mobster, always looking over your shoulder for a rival family's cadre or a fed. Not Vinny. He loved it. It was a rush. Have a seat, Slugger, said the boss. Don Capaldi had given Vinny that moniker. Vinny was an artist with a baseball bat. He slid into the richly upholstered leather seat and adjusted his tie. The boss, setting aside his newspaper, pulled a black folder from his desk and slid it toward his underling. I need you to deal with a problem for me. I'd like this done today, said Capaldi. Inside the folder were various photographs of a balding, middle-aged man with thick spectacles. This is Jacob Mickelson. He's been a thorn in my side for 2 years now. When he's not drawing comics or illustrating books, he's writing opinion pieces in the Times. These editorials have been bringing us a lot of heat from the feds. Tapping his finger on the desk, Capaldi continued, I need Mickelson to be quiet for good. Vinny never read the editorial pages, but he felt like he knew this guy. He had an odd sense Jacob Mickelson was important. Capaldi waited for a moment before asking Vinny what was wrong. You got this? Yeah, no problem, I got this, he said as he gathered up the photos. Consider it done, boss. Good, report back to me when it's done, Capaldi said impatiently. Vinny pulled into the back alley of the downtown apartment of Jacob Mickelson. He took his trusty and well-used Louisville Slugger and black leather gloves from the trunk. Moments later, he was on the 3rd floor, using the end of the bat to push open the door to Mickelson's studio apartment. He'd done this enough times to easily get in and out of an apartment without the neighbors poking their noses where they didn't belong. There at a drafting table sat Jacob, facing away from the door and hard at work on a comic panel. What took you so long, Vinny? Asked Jacob, who spoke over his shoulder. Vinny was visibly shaken. How did this guy he'd never seen before know who he was? He scanned the room, searching for a clue that might provide the answer. There were comic and graphic novel pages everywhere.
They covered most of the wall that shared Mickelson's desk. There were superheroes and characters of all shapes, sizes, and varieties. A cowboy firing his six-shooter at some bad guys stared right at him. Another page showed a giant robot changing into a plane. Another guy in a black and red leather suit, holding two katanas, was slicing through a car door. One particular character caught Vinny's eye and held him for a moment. The illustration of a man in a blue pinstripe suit, cracking the skull of a kneeling man with glasses. "I don't blame you, Vinny. You're just following Don Capaldi's orders, aren't you?" he said as he slowly turned to face his executioner. "Shut up, Mickelson. How do you know my name?" Vinny asked as a chill went up and down his spine. "Does it really matter? I just know you. In fact, I know you better than you know you, slugger," he said, almost taunting him to use the bat held at his side. "I said shut up," repeated Vinny. "Like you said, I'm just doing my job, Mickelson." When the job was done, Jacob Mickelson was barely recognizable. Vinny's Louisville Slugger was coated in gore. He used the man's hat laying on his desk to wipe away the gray matter and other bits of the artist. On the desk in front of him was the last thing Jacob Mickelson would ever illustrate. On the page was a crumpled figure in a heap behind the pinstripe man. The bat-wielding assailant was holding a cell phone in his hand. The speech bubble was unfinished. The entire scene filled Vinny with dread, but he needed to let the boss know it was done. Vinny hit the speed dial, and moments later, Don Capaldi's voice sounded on the line. "Is it done?" Capaldi asked. "It's done," responded Vinny. Capaldi recoiled as the noise of the phone bouncing off the floor reverberated in his ear. Vinny gasped as he saw the cell phone phase through his translucent hand and bounce off the blood-soaked floorboards. Vinny watched in horror as the pinstripe man slowly vanished from the page, soon followed by Vincent Slugger Scarlato. Well, I wonder if Deadpool ever has this sort of problem in his comics. As I mentioned in a previous video, I'll read some of your comments from time to time, so now for viewer feedback. From Thanks Nana, viewer Big Ankovic said, "That was cool. I love the presentation. Maybe I'll steal it and start doing story reading like this on my channel." As you should, sir. As you should. And from Come Inside, viewer Life Under Lockdown commented, "That was pretty unexpected. As someone from a different culture, I'm just wondering why Eddie sat next to Cindy. What was he hoping to achieve when he closed the shop?" Well, when I wrote this story, I thought to myself that he's a nice guy, and he's just going to try and make sure that she's okay. He invited her into his restaurant, and he wanted to have a private discussion with her so that she wouldn't just leave. And, well, it didn't work out so good. Sometimes you make good decisions, and then sometimes you get murdered. But anyway, thank you again for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will catch you next time. Come on back, and I'll be waiting for you.